Hi, I'm Kirby Allison. I'm back in London on what is another beautiful day for another installment of our Gentleman's Day Out. Today I'm going to be meeting with my good friend Simon Cundey, the managing director of one of the most preeminent London Savile Row bespoke tailoring firms, Henry Poole, and he's invited me into his club, the Royal Automobile Club, for some coffee before we go out for a nice, lovely stroll. So join me as we step inside this lovely club and Simon shows us around. Simon, beautiful day.
Beautiful day, Kirby.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, welcome. Welcome to the Royal Automobile Club, as well known as the RAC.
RAC. That's my first time here. I've never been inside, so appreciate the invitation. I have to say it's as beautiful as I expected.
It's a pretty special place here. You've got a real eclectic mix of everything a club you could ever have. Quite a special club. It caters for people that come from the country into the city. We have obviously here 3 great restaurants. We have lovely drawing rooms. We have card rooms, billiard rooms, and we have a great pool.
The famous pool, of course.
The famous pool, exactly. And then fun things we do, every 2 weeks we get a lovely automotive car that comes through, and you're seeing one today that actually is powered by steam. We've gone from diesel, we've gone petrol, now we're obviously electric, but this is one of the original ones, about 1897, I think it is. And this is the Salverson steam engine that was basically used when things would do around maybe going around 4 miles an hour, where we had a little gentleman running in front with his red flag, giving you a warning that the car was coming. And eventually that law passed that cars can actually go above 14 miles an hour, and the red flag was torn up. And that gave birth to what we call the old London to Brighton rally that still happens today. It's the oldest rally in the world, and cars like this still take part. In fact, this gentleman who owns this car did this, I think 2018, 2021, 12 hours from here to Brighton. Normally it takes a modern car about an hour. 12 hours for the first year. It's commitment. It's commitment and a bone shaker. I mean, I'm sure that this guy was running around trying to keep up or trying to sort things out as it's going along, but quite something.
And so every 2 weeks there's another installment here.
Yeah, so you have people that bring special cars in for historic reasons or celebrations, and how it works, about 4 a.m. in the morning, the double doors which you walk through are actually taken out, and they put 2 ramps up, and if you're brave enough you can drive up, otherwise you get pushed up, turned into position and set in the clubhouse here in what's called the rotunda. This is the rotunda.
And so you have a very active automobile enthusiast membership. I mean, that's how this club was founded, by some of the pioneers of the automobile industry. And mistake me if I'm wrong, but it still is. The membership is just as active in the automotive industry today, and collecting as it has been since its inception. Very much so.
It was basically down to 2 pioneers of the automotive timing that took place, and that was a gentleman by the name of Lord Montague of Bewley, where we have the Bewley Automobile Museum, very famous down in Hampshire, and then of course the young Prince Edward VII, synonymous for style, synonymous for pageantry, but his love of automotive cars, the 2 came together, and there was no real club where people were investing in cars but didn't know how to look after them or how to talk about it. So really this was a formation of the Royal Automobile Club, or the RAC as it's known, and for many years, and we still do today, we have the breakdown service known as the RAC, but the original part was the Royal Automobile Club. So still today, many of the patrons, many of the members are fascinated and endure the joys of motoring, and that's what we'd see today in the club.
What year was it founded?
I think it founded itself in about 1890s in Whitehall, and moved here about 1906, about that time. Yeah. But that's when it founded itself here. But it was a tremendous task building it, and forward thinking to build such a swimming pool now like that in that period was quite something. So we're very proud of that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Well, should we continue?
Let's. If you don't mind, thank you.
Come this way.
Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and today's video was brought to you by KirbyAllison.com, where you'll find the largest collection of luxury garment care and luxury shoe care accessories in the world, as well as other great clothing accessories for the well-dressed, like this sovereign-grade necktie, pocket squares, braces, socks, and so much more. So if you enjoy the content that we film on this channel, make sure you visit KirbyAllison.com.
So at the RAC Club, we indeed have about 3 restaurants. We obviously have the Long Bar, which is more of the relaxed bar, where it has a lovely billiard room. We have Brooklands, which was named after the racetrack, the first British Grand Prix at the Brooklands racetrack in 1926. And this is the fine dining, this is the gallery. So named after the Minstrels Gallery, which we have behind us here, which you can actually have on special occasions.
Yeah, look at the table up there.
Yeah. And then obviously the stage is on the other side here, which is where, again, part of this great gallery. And then lovely onto the terrace to finish your lunch as well. So you really can make up your thought process and day to for your guests to enjoy something
It's a massive
formal.
club. And I guess this would traditionally be used by out-of-town guests, right, coming into the city, because there's bedrooms at the club as well, right?
Yeah, we have just over 100
Really?
rooms.
That's quite,
and
quite a large number of rooms.
It is, and it's various sizes to them. Small little, overnighters to large,
Suites
as well. So we can really make use of it. But yeah, it was always for the people who were living out in the country, would come in for a few days and go back out again. Obviously, maybe they sold up and moved out of the country and then kept the club going for their sort of stays over.
Yeah.
And people coming overseas as well. We have a lot of overseas members who fly in and stay at the club and then fly onward bound. And obviously reciprocal is a big part of it too. And we're reciprocal to many clubs. In fact, we have a great chess match between the Metropolitan Club over in DC against the RAC Club. So that's just out in the rotunda as well. So we play each other. I think it's a move a month or a move even a year to play this game between each other.
It's like an ongoing chess match.
An ongoing chess match, exactly.
What a beautiful club. Wow, I mean, it's one of the things I love about London, is you only find something like this here. I mean, it's really quite unique. This is seeing the Pall Mall. I mean, this is one of several clubs just on the Pall Mall alone.
That's the joy. I mean, there is many parts of the Oxford and Cambridge, Athenaeum, Reform. They've all had historic values and thought process of why they have actually were set up. And each member had an enjoyment to form a fraternity within the club. So this is what it's all about.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Continue, shall we?
Thank you. It's quite the tour.
Yeah. We're going to go take a left here. But here we have some of the great characters of the club. Dorman, fantastic character, to people.
I'm sure that over the decades, there have been plenty of illustrious characters here.
Yeah, oh yeah. Kirby, you can probably hear that there's a bit of a sporty atmosphere here. This is much more of our sports area, so we have indeed the squash going on. And now you can actually see that we have the gym room is behind here, behind the walls here. And of course, now you can see our wonderful pool area with a Turkish bath behind here, which is really truly special. And this is what brought me to the club. And this was the drawing
right here in the center of London.
Right
off of St. James's on the Pall Mall. Who would have ever thought that this was underneath the street? I mean, it's incredible.
I used to deliver suits here to clients, and I came down the steps into the cloakroom area and just saw this pool and was like, oh my God. And probably from around then onwards, for about 10 years, I dreamed of being a member. And finally, about 15, 18 years ago, I managed to join.
Who proposed you?
I had 2 clients.
Okay.
Both passed away. One was from the National Audit Office, and the other one was John Perring from Merchant Tailors. And between the 2 of them, they put me forward. Had to wait about a couple of years, but
yes, of course,
it all happened.
I mean, between the variety of restaurants, bars, and other facilities to use, I don't know how you ever leave. I would get no work done in London.
It's hard, isn't it? But I mean, I come here on a sort of Wednesday night, do a gym, and then finish up in the Long Bar and just catch up and just calm down a bit, which is a lovely thing to do if I can.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's continue.
Yeah. Coffee?
Yeah, let's go some coffee.
Well, Simon, I mean, we couldn't have picked a more lovely day for this.
Yet again.
It's quite uncharacteristic.
I know.
Yesterday we had an event at Davidoff of London, and the idea was for us to be able to smoke outside on the sidewalk, but I jinxed us because I didn't take my brolly that morning. And so, of course, it rained.
Oh, no.
But the entire week we've been here, I have to say, it's been just like this every day.
It's pretty outstanding. I think we've got a few more days of this, so you should really make the most of your time in London.
Indeed.
So it's pretty good.
The beginning of spring. You can hear the pollen in my voice. The spring.
But it's good to have you back. Yeah, it's good to have you back in London, and a packed little program, I'm sure, for you to do.
Well, thank you for showing me around and showing me your club. I mean, what I love so much about London are the layers. There's so much more than what meets the eye. I mean, I can't think of the number of times I've walked up and down the Pall Mall, down to Trafalgar Square, and never really even knew what was behind those beautiful doors.
Yep.
And here you invite me inside. We see everything that this club has, and I mean, I wouldn't know even how to begin to choose where I'd spend my time. Yeah. I could be lost here for a week.
Well, these clubs have existed for over 100 years.
Yeah.
And these clubs have their own little fraternities, their own little thought process. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. That's perfect. Just what I need this morning. Yes. I need one. That's
perfect. Beautiful weather, isn't it?
Yes, it's amazing, nice and sunny. Enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you
so much. So these clubs exist. You obviously start in life to hear about the clubs, know about the clubs. You meet obviously my clients at Henry Poole. You hear where they're staying. And as I said, Kirby, when I was a young sort of 16-year-old, in my school holidays, I used to be delivering suits for Henry Poole. And
Dad putting you to work properly.
Oh, straight away, was packing, was delivering, and I got to see all the wonderful hotels, Connaught, Claridge's, Ritz, even the boutique hotel like Blake's or Cadogan Gardens. These were small little hotels, but not only that was these clubs.
Yeah.
So pretty much all the clubs, Athenaeum, Carlton, Reform Club, Beadles, White, and it was this club that I just came to.
Really struck me.
It just struck me with the beauty and the awe of it, and of course knowing then, as I got to know about it through clients, that they have a country club as well. So just around 20 miles from here is Epsom Downs, where the famous horse track is. Mm-hmm. We have a country club with 2 wonderful golf courses, a swimming pool again, and being the halfway house for where I live in London, it's made total sense for me to join.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Yeah. And so I guess how do you use the club then? So, I mean, of course, you live in London, so you're not using it for the overnight rooms.
Having your weekly lifestyle here in London, it does dictate quite a stressful part of the week. And, this for me is a sort of calmer. Once a week, if I certainly can, twice a week if God all willing. But just to come here, use the swim, the gym is lovely. Entertaining, of course. Just like having you here, Kirby, is fantastic. Yes. Having clients over from overseas. We can catch up with meetings if I need be, with discussing just personal things, and that's what the clubs are all about. And more than that is, of course, the passion I have in
the passion, yes,
the automotive. So, being my grandfather, my great uncle, they were in Fraser Nash clubs and racing in their time. My father in his time. It's something you can really get into and use it for beneficial purposes if the right context is used in it.
Yeah.
So that's what the clubs are about. And as I say, you get to meet invitational to other clubs from other members. So if a member is a club from another club, you get the invitation, you experience their club, what it's about their club, the history behind their club, what they have roots into, sailing, rowing. There's many, many clubs to join. So it's all walks of life you get into.
Yeah. Well, no one does leisure better than the British. They've really refined, this over the centuries of learning and knowing how to enjoy oneself, but very seriously and very dignified.
Yeah, so it's a very dignified way of, I think, of doing your business week. And if you can use this facility when you have time, it's fantastic to do so.
And what's interesting is that there are many clubs. I mean, they say London is kind of the king of clubland. I mean, there are countless clubs. And I guess what's neat about that is that it allows everyone to kind of find that perfect fit, right? The one that coincides either with your friends or your passions, or even, even your political affiliation, right?
No, I mean, exactly. The political is one other point where that's a good point to mention. The military affiliated is another one. The younger clubs, we have obviously things like Annabelle's and Fort Hartford. These are much more the sort of, younger generation that love to party, which have great facilities as well. So this is all a lifestyle that London has, and just a moment to enjoy this.
It is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, I joke that, London is the one place that you could spend an entire week here and never actually set foot in a public establishment. You could sleep at your private club. You could eat at your private club.
Do business at your club.
Do business at your private club. Go smoke at your private club, and then go to the nightclub at your private club. You could do that every night or every day for a week, and never set into the same foot twice, and you wouldn't even have begun to exhaust everything that's out there.
Well, I haven't got there yet, Kirby.
Yes, so soon.
So this is a way to start, and obviously we'll walk a little bit into St. James, and we're going to go through the area. Really was the sort of quintessential gentleman's quarter, and you'll see some of the great shops, as you know, and then we'll head up to Henry Poole.
But just real quick, one question on that. I mean, you've got Jermyn Street, which was kind of the traditional, seat of kind of shoemaking and shirt making. You've got the Piccadilly Arcade, of course, New and Lingwood, Bud, right? And then you've got Savile Row just on the other side of Piccadilly. Were those streets and those shops kind of developed or locating here, did it have anything to do with just the proximity of the clubs?
Very much.
I mean, were those related, or was it just kind of coincidence?
I think you have to look just here, of course, the course of St. James. So we're going back to Henry VIII. We're going back to the palace, Buckingham Palace. This sort of quarter here really was the sort of royal establishments, and anyone who lived near and wanted to be near, obviously the royal family, existing family, had homes here, and many of the pageantry and the shops that started their lives and grew and also remained, and still today, are still in this area. And that's what makes this area unique, I think. When
Absolutely.
you look at how cities have moved from one part to another because of development or companies that don't survive, this area of St. James is quite unique in that fact. So I think that this is what draws it up. And, you had watchmakers, we had, sort of cheesemakers still in Paxton. These are still family firms, and they're still going. And this is what draws a lot of the people from overseas to come into this area and shop, enjoy life.
Well, we were at Florist just a few days ago. I was designing a bespoke fragrance with Edward Bodenham and then Penny, they're one of their perfumers. And they've been at that location on St. James's Street since 17 something, right? And then you, of course, at Henry Poole have been on Savile Row since 1846.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just absolutely astounding to me.
So the funny thing is, we all know each other. That was lovely too. Is that Edward, I think, is 9 generations. The Lobbs are 5. I'm 7. Berry Brothers and Rudd. I mean, another great family.
Locke,
and I think is 9 generations. So there's some great family firms out here, and it's warrant holders as well. So we're very proud of the fact that we remained and still serve many of the customers that we've served for generations as well. So we very much are Edward VII. Edward VII was really the patron and founder of this club here. And we've dealt with the families throughout that sort of know and worked with that families that worked with him. So all throughout that West End and St. James's is special.
I mean, it's just, again, it astounds me. I mean, every single time I'm walking down St. James's or Jermyn Street or Savile Row, I find myself just in awe of the history. And we were at Bud Shirtmakers, which is relatively young. I mean, they've only been open since 1910. But just kind of, realizing that they haven't just served the well-dressed for decades, but for generations. And that's what you have here in London, is this multi-generational tradition of just, taking care of the well-dressed in your work, but just, taking care of the well-traveled and, those who enjoy life.
I mean, for me, our customer generation is something to be proud of. We know we have the record books we can go back and show the clients their grandfathers, their great-grandfathers even. I have a gentleman who was over from San Francisco. I could actually show him 4 generations of Poole, which in the US is quite amazing. It's one of the first sort of railroad families.
Working on my first generation right here.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
My shooter.
Exactly, it's the first part. But no, it's tradition, it's passion, it's the company, it's the people behind the company. You know, that has to keep that surviving, and that's a sort of, it's a big ship that sort of all goes along together, and that if everyone rows together, it works, and it keeps the company going.
But the preservation, I really appreciate. I mean, because these firms have remained in family control. They've been run not for profit maximization, but to really preserve the history, the tradition, and really the legacy.
Yeah, I think what you've been through in world wars, depressions, COVID,
this is your second pandemic. At Pool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yes. 2 world wars.
Yeah.
2 pandemics.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to see that you guys are
coming out again.
Traveling again as well.
Yeah.
And able to again, see your customers, which I'm sure have long been eager to be back here.
Yeah. Well, since you saw me last, I would just come back from the States last week, and we've had a great trip again. And it really is opening up, and the customers are back. We've got some lovely new customers as well that are seeking to buy sort of a suit that means something to them, i.e. for pleasure, for purpose, whether it be for restaurants or dining, meetings, as much as it's casual attire, which of course is a big part in the play at the moment. So sports jackets is a big theme as well. So seeing all this new generation of customers, as we just did in the California and Georgia, it's been a tremendous trip. So I'm very pleased to be back, and we prepare for the next one as we do. But it's also nice seeing customers flying in now. It's really much easier to fly into the UK and arrive and
easier to get here than it is for us to get home.
Yes, at the moment. Yeah.
Well, great.
Good. Well, I think you see in the club.
Yeah,
enjoyed the club.
I have immensely.
And we'll have a little walk up the road to St James's now, and then we'll go through the arcade. Again, you'll see a lovely uniform we make for the Beadles there, and then we'll head into
the band.
Not the Beadles band, no, but the Beadles who look after the
in their livery.
In their livery uniforms. Yeah, they were the policemen of the day.
Okay.
Before the policemen were invented, they were the Beadles that were basically the bouncers of their time, and uniforms were very much acquired, and we dressed that group of Beadles that are in the arcade, so you'll see them. And then we'll head into Henry Poole and see the shop.
That's splendid. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we?
Yeah, shall we? Yeah, so basically these doors, when the cars come in, Kirby, these doors retract and the whole sides come out. And that is the way that the cars come in and ramped up to the top rotunda there. So it's quite something.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's hard to believe in the still of night, they're able to bring cars.
4 a.m. in the morning is all, and by 5 they're all done. And that's it, your car is in there for 2 weeks. And then you have to do the same again to get it out again. It's much the same sort of thing.
It was so lovely to see the club, and it sounds like, again, there's a lot of events that you guys do throughout the year.
Yeah, so obviously this year, just alone, with RAC, we get very much involved with motoring events. So first up, we've got the Festival of Speed is going to come through around June period. Soon after, in September, the first weekend, we've got the concourse at Hampton Court.
Okay.
Of course, we've been celebrating 10 years of that. We do the tie for that. So
and you've shown there before, haven't you?
I've shown there in 2016, which was quite a memorable year, I must say. But that was lovely. That's where the car was in the rotunda. And of course, the next thing is going to be the Goodwood Revival, which is very special.
Yes. So, very familiar with the Goodwood Revival.
So that's a pure passion.
Bucket list event for me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll try and get you a little bit involved.
We should work on that.
We'll work on that together. Yeah. It's going to be a great one. I mean, you'll love it. And it brings not only the dress sense, but the dressing up, the period costumes, and the passion in everything that goes together with motoring and lifestyle, and luxury in terms of these quality cars that are still going and racing today. So
it's unbelievable to me that they race those incredible, just classic cars, and I mean, full out, right?
Real
I mean,
racing.
they don't hold back.
No.
And then, again, it's just incredible how Goodwood has actually really cemented itself on the social calendar, right up there with Ascot.
Yeah, I mean that's our social calendar now. It's just starting now. Starting with obviously Chelsea Flower Show. We've had Oxford and Cambridge race. We're going to go through now into the after Ascot becomes Henley, becomes Wimbledon. Then the glorious 12th comes out for shooting period, and then move in September, and revival happens. So
I really was born in the wrong country.
lots to do, Kirby. So coming around to the Palace of St James over here, and now we're coming into St James's Street, where you're going to come up with some of the great old names, great old clubs.
Gentlemen's Club. I mean, the big four right here.
Right here.
On St.
Right here,
James's.
St. James's.
Lights, Beadles,
Yep.
Brookses, and the
Exactly. So these guys would have been supplied by the wines and spirits by Berry Brothers, some of the great old names of spirits and wines that was actually going back to 16, 1700.
Yeah.
And this is what makes it special. So they have great, great cellars, and now you actually have fine dining in their cellars at
they really?
the club.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's quite something. So we'll go past that one, heading up towards Lock and Lob. So we're now coming up to the real sort of hub of the great shops of what was and is of St James.
St. James's.
And here, no doubt, is Berry Brothers, one of the finest, oldest, and still going family firms in the actual St James's. And they have some great scales, which actually were coffee scales.
Okay.
And the bales would come in, and you'd measure them and weigh them. And now these days, you can actually stand on these scales yourself and be weighed yourself
Yes,
on them.
right.
So this is really the quintessential exporter of wines, or importer of wines, which would take from all the best parts of Europe, France, Germany, all these sort of Spains. We were never a nation of wine producing, but these guys source the best. They then send out to all the male clubs here in St James's, going through into the Pall Mall, going through into the City of London, and that's what made this a real hub of quintessential.
Yeah. I mean, you can see all the layers of paint on the facade here, and it's still, it's still a working business. I mean, it's still very active.
Very much an international business, and very strong, and is well renowned. And you can be on a plane enjoying Berry Brothers in a first class lounge having Berry Brothers as much as you can come here and buy a little wine from a little pair of deepest Sicily or Sardinia that you would never think you could get hold of. And these guys find these places. So very, very special. And I just want to show you a little something of historic value to you, especially coming from Texas.
Yeah.
But as your state was growing and existing, the plaque here was quite something, just to read out that point there.
The Texas legation. So in this building was the legation for the ministers from the Republic of Texas. 1842 to 1845, short-lived, but here.
Short-lived, but there it is.
There it is.
Still a plaque remains.
Oh gosh, I mean, this living history, I mean, that's all up and down the street is
Absolutely.
really incredible.
Amazing. So let's carry on now to Lock. We'll pop into Lock. So we'll pop into Lock. And you can see the great, again, the age, the patina, it's all
look
here.
at the layers of
in the bell.
the layers of paint.
Exactly. That's great. So this is a great showroom, great people, great company. So when you're coming into the House of Lock, you not only just purchase a hat size, but coming to here is a conformator that really actually measures your head size, shape.
Really?
And that's quite unique here. So when you come to measure for Ascot or other places, special occasions, this is the hub, this is the place. And, will be explained now how it works. So come on through.
Oh, wow. Of course, Tom. Why am I not surprised?
How are you? I would stand like anyone should, but I'm currently in the middle of I'm being dealt with some sort of torture device.
For Ascot, what is this?
Well, okay, so last time I wore a top hat was at Trooping the Colour in 2019. Since then, something happened that stopped everybody from going outside. But I have gotten the next opportunity to go out and wear a top hat at Ascot.
Okay.
And so I'm very excited.
So you're using this as an opportunity to properly acquire a top hat.
Well, that was the thing, because the opportunity to go to Trooping the Colour is actually quite rare. So I got sort of caught up quite last minute. So I had to sort of, find the closest solution. But now we're making an occasion of it for June. So
excited.
Very excited. Yeah.
Well, everyone, of course, is very excited to see the social circuit back kind of in full form.
Yeah, I mean, I think that nobody can deny that London has slightly given up on the rules, and I think that we're all ready to be sort of
back
and
out.
we're all motivated, I think, to be back together. So it's good. Well, great.
Tom, good to see you again.
see you.
Last time
Well,
it was with the golden shears, which was great. Thank you for doing that
terrific.
too.
I was delighted to be asked. That was delightful. I think what an amazing group of young tailors, and I think hopefully they were kind of pleased to.
Very pleased. Went very well, and we're going to be doing that again next year, 20th of March, all being well. So another round of
Great.
golden shears. But thank you for your time on that.
Oh no, it was a great honour to be asked.
Very
I
good.
was delighted.
But Jayesh is going to measure you today, is that right? And
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt, because we're here whenever we did arrive.
No, now I'm the sort
Not
of
as
test.
staged as it may have looked.
I'm the sort of test dummy to this machine, which you can kind of watch.
Well, I'm glad it's you and not me, because this looks quite terrifying.
It's very British to sort of haze people into
Yes.
great, wonderful, sort of stately occasions by torturing them.
I've experienced already, but I'm remaining very quiet.
yeah.
I think it was well timed actually. I was just about to grab a tape measure and measure Tom's head, and then subsequently torture him with the conformator
Yes, very exciting.
device. So here we are. So just put a tape to your head, find out what head measurement you are in centimeters, because that's more accurate. There we are, and your head measures 59 centimeters.
There you go. I mean,
You've got me by 1.5 centimeters.
the gentleman's size.
So that's the size. Now comes the shape.
Yeah, the shape is where we're always wrong.
Well,
So talk about this. So this is
the device is called conformator, dates back 1852. And we have been using this very conformator ever since then. And it has also gone on Her Majesty's head.
This very
as well.
one.
Prior to coronation, Locke was appointed to take a head shape of Her Majesty and subsequently do a fitting inside a state crown.
wow.
So how lucky is that?
Gosh, it's sort of akin to a tailor's paper pattern, isn't it?
Much the same.
Yeah.
Much the same. You know, you're looking at everything that's going to change in your shape of head will pop out and shape it in this machine, and you'll be able to see it on that little bit of paper.
Very
And your,
clear.
you know,
A sort of miniature scale.
Yeah.
Literally, it's as soon as this conformator goes on your head, it will mold the circumference of your head, and the pins will transfer your head shape onto the card. In terms of proportion, 1/6. There we are. Here we are. How are we with that?
Yeah, I mean,
At any point it gets uncomfortable,
Supposed to be a
give me a
tight
shout
shape.
and I'll stop. The only thing we've stopped using
never
is
complain,
is it-
never explain.
the electricity. The fun part has been taken away, unfortunately.
Well, that looked relatively painless.
It's painless and too fast, frankly. I was rather enjoying this.
Yeah, see,
Nice
that's
head massage.
That's the way this machine is. And here we are. It does need a bit of helping hand every now and then because of its age. There we are. And that's your head shape onto the card. Now, if you look carefully, the 3 dots tells me that the head shape, that's the front of your head.
Yep.
And the single dot, that tells me that's back of your head.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I was to describe your head shape, it's a long oval head shape, a very long oval.
So, JS, now
Yes.
you should relate to some of the great names you have in the wall.
Absolutely.
Where does Tom feature in
Okay.
your great
Oh,
names?
yes.
Now, if you look at the frame carefully, they're all color-coded, and the purple is sort of royalty. And the main variations in the head shape,
Prince of Wales, of course.
Prince of Wales, absolutely, which is a long oval.
I
I mean, I think
September-
me and His Royal Highness share a head.
Yes.
Common head
We
shape.
should ask if he has an extra silk top hat you might borrow.
Well, if the crown is going to be placed on his head at some point, it'll probably be fitted to him, and therefore it will fit me, which I think is all well appropriate.
But tell us,
Yes.
there's about 3 different typical shapes, is
So,
that right?
I mean, every head shape is different, but there are 3 main variations. So the one we looked at just now, Princess of Wales, her head shape is very long oval. And the opposite to that is a perfectly spherical head shape. Non-famous, but the head shape is there purely because the very head shape, rounded head shape.
But they all
It's
have.
most-
I sort of spot that most have this sort of avocado shape, don't they? Or pear, depends on
Correct.
your sort of
So-
preferences there. But it seems like that feels to be the most sort of common shape.
Absolutely. So there's the main variation in between. Long oval, round, then variation,
And
which are
then-
more like pear shapes.
And then will this be used to block the hat to fit the various shapes?
Absolutely. So the counterpart to the conformator is conformillion, which I'll show you. So we cut along the dotted line just the way these shapes are, and then it goes on a base. Surrounds is the conformillion. We fix the head shape, heat up the hat, in goes the mold, and when the hat cools down, it's complementary to your head shape.
So it's basically this almost the same device that can kind of mimic or mirror whatever the measurements are you take here, and then the hat is molded to that exact shape.
Spot on. We don't
fascinating.
change client's head shape, we change the hat to complement the shape.
Should hope.
Absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll show you what the counterpart looks like, and then it'll all come together.
Yeah, that'd be
Make
that'd
it
be
very
fun. Yeah, thank you.
Spot on.
Very
reference.
special.
All right.
Now, Kirby, what can I say? A great family firm, great people, and another special place.
When was
here in
Locke
St. James.
founded? How old is Locke?
Well, we've been hatting since 1676. Still run by the descendants. Eighth generation in running. And still doing what we do the best.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
A lot of Poole come here. In fact, I'm seeing a picture of one just here. This gentleman here was a
Absolutely.
great customer of Poole as much as Locke as well. So
The young Winston Churchill.
The young Winston, exactly.
On his wedding, proudly wearing a
That was his
Locke's
wedding
silk
day,
top hat.
wasn't it? It was amazing.
Look at that. Would have been a silk top hat. too.
Coincidentally, I have a silk top hat just right here.
Oh, do you?
Absolutely. Which is
These are
close
quite
to.
rare these days.
They are rare gems.
I mean, exceptionally, not quite, exceptionally rare.
Purely because they're hard to source, especially the larger silk top hats.
And when did what was it that caused the production to stop?
It was a fraternal sort of
Disruption. It was run by two brothers. The loom, the factory that had the loom, was owned by two brothers, and one of the brothers inherited the factory, and the other decided, because it was no longer part of a great business, decided to burn the factory down.
Oh
my God.
And that was the end of it.
Cain and Abel, it's from the beginning of time.
Smith brothers.
You sort of think about the sort of the facts of that. You kind of think, surely people can make this machine again and create an amazing business. But you've been up to shoe factories. You've been all these are serious feats of engineering. They're not easy to make, and so just the ability to make it and the rubric is not there anymore. And so it's a real shame.
Well, it's kind of like the grenadine looms, in Como.
Yes.
All the grenadine silk. I mean, it only comes from literally one place, and it's an old wooden loom. And there's no other silk, weaver in the world that has.
We
been
face
able
it
to-
with silk velvet. Same thing again. The looms have gone. There's no quality now. Just to get silk velvet is not possible. It's
Really?
just for us. That's one of our best velvets to make smokers, steak coats, all these sort of things. Velvets is very important.
Do you still have any vintage fabric?
We have about 3-4 bolts of it left,
Okay.
and that's only for our ceremonial use only.
Really?
So we cannot use it for smokers now, but for ceremonial, sheriff, obviously the livery, we use it still. But that's where we are with it, and we just need to source it again somehow. But that's how it is.
But the beauty about this is the way these is put together. It just starts from the center, and the plush runs anti-clockwise. So when you polish it, the plush flattens, and it becomes literally like a silk fabric. At the moment, it's got a bit of a texture to it. But once a polishing fluid is applied, polished, flattens, close to silk fabric.
Really?
That's what creates the sheen.
And so these, if one was to buy a silk top hat, it would have to be a vintage.
Absolutely. There's nothing better than a silk top hat,
Yeah.
especially the Locks one.
But certainly the creme de la creme, whenever you go to Ascot, I mean, everyone's wearing top hats, of course. But those with silk top hats, really are set apart.
You get spotted.
Yeah, you spot them from afar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ligorous on.
Well, great.
Well, show us the.
Yeah, so I'll just show the counterpart,
Yeah,
which
fantastic.
is even better.
Look, he's a professional.
Just for the
You
camera.
stepped
You've done
Yes.
this before.
You've done this before.
Yeah.
Yep. A few times.
So you cut it out, and then you've brought this little device, and so this is basically the inverse of this.
Yeah, so it's counterpart of the conformator.
Yeah.
And that's how the head shape looks once it's been sort of trimmed from the dotted outline. Then it goes on a wooden base, which is here. That gives me a secure base so I can level the head shape the way it should be. Because even when the head shape is switched the other way around, that means it will be opposite of its head shape, and the hat will no way be a perfect fit.
Yeah. And this is important, of course, for comfort and for fit, right? So it doesn't blow off. And
Also, I guess, to some extent, and not to over-egg it, wearing a hat that's too tight on a hot day, you're going to faint. Like, it's, there's
true.
sort of,
Yeah.
there are sort of issues there, and it's pretty unpleasant to wear.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason when a client comes to Lock, we always advise the client that the hat is fitted. And we do only have this in London or if it's a fitting service, purely because the reason we just talked about. Yeah. Then comes in the conformillion. That's the counterpart, literally.
the conformillion.
Count for millions, so literally conforming the hat. Conformator acquiring the head shape, then the conformillion, which is the mold, which will shape the hat.
Yeah. And how long has this been around? I mean, this looks in and of itself, an antique.
Yeah, sort of dug
Piece
up.
of history.
Sort of
18.
architectural.
I mean, look at the shine on the brass.
This is all handmade. Dates back 1852. Doesn't quite happen now. So whatever we have has been around since Locke started hatting in the actual date, which is 1852. Can't be, I mean, you can buy these, but ones we have are special.
Wow.
But Kirby, hats are a big deal in America. Do you not have things like this?
Well, you know, I mean, of course, the Western hat tradition, cowboy hats, is very, very popular. And, you know, I have seen them use these devices before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fairly structured, right?
Yeah. It's a very structured
Western
hat.
style
It's
hat,
like
yeah.
shellacked, you know, solid.
Yeah, I mean, they are. I mean, amazing when you touch them. It's
Yeah.
it feels like sort of starch has just been sprayed on.
Which apparently is very
Mm.
different than how they were traditionally. Traditionally, apparently, you know, back in the early 20th century, late 19th, they were quite soft.
Yeah. But then, of course, the metropolitan Americans and with the sort of Stetsons and stuff like, you think of, 1920 Chicago and New York and things, the sort of fedoras and stuff. They are very much sort of part of the sort of cultural way that we see America in those days.
Well, sadly, that's kind of fallen out of fashion. I mean, you very rarely see a man wearing a hat, a proper, fedora, even a straw hat. You very rarely see, and it's too bad. I think that, we're doing our best to bring them back.
I'll bring them to you tomorrow because obviously we're seeing each other tomorrow. But I have these Vanity Fairs and Esquires from the 1920s and 1930s. So I've got they're amazing things, full of adverts and stuff. It's just huge amounts of you can't get more hats.
Well, the hat departments were larger than the shoe departments of department stores.
That makes sense.
And they were right up front. You'd walk in, a massive hat department. And I was speaking to one of the other parishioners of my church, an older gentleman, and he said that his father, it was just unheard of to leave the house without a hat. You just simply would not
Never
do
done.
it.
Absolutely, same thing here. We get clients who've been shopping here ever since their grandfather, or coming into Locke to get their hat, and the sons do, then the grandsons, and the sort of traditions carries on, and that's the whole reason we are the hatters.
Yeah.
Keeping these in fashion.
Not just for decades.
No.
Not just for centuries, but for generations.
Absolutely, the tradition carries on parallel to the fashion, which may be this time. Around at this time.
Yeah. Well, let's see
see
what
that.
Tom's head looks like in the
Sorry,
conformed chameleon.
Right, so I'm going to prepare the mold, which is very simple.
Yeah, I know. Well, you measure up nicely compared to this wall here, so I think you've
I think you came out pretty well, Tommy. In comparison to some of those characters. Oh, there's Mr. Gandhi David's up here as well. He was here. Look at that.
I've seen the Emperor of Japan being fitted up there because obviously he was,
that was a famous trip.
He was considered, a god of types.
Yeah.
So touching it would have been, pretty much unheard of.
And it's the same conformity we just used on you, Tom. Well, we've got the Duke of Windsor. We've got Franklin D. Roosevelt, of course.
It looks like he went from sort of, what is that? Is that cardboard or is it? It looks like the material for the Duke of Windsor looks like a sort of cork, maybe.
Yeah, so that's like a fairly heavy card.
Yeah.
Obviously, purely because we want to retain that head shape for a longer length of time.
Make sure you get it just right.
There was a reason. It was
He wasn't just here for one hat.
He was probably quite funny about his clothes.
Yeah, most of the time we had to probably go over to them. That may have been just a one-off visit. So I'm just going to finish this off. I've unscrewed the keys, which are all here, and that loosens the pegs, which are on the sides. And what I need to do is bring in contact the inner of the pegs to the head shape, and then sort of secure.
Yeah.
Using the keys, literally like that, to a finger pressure. And then using the actual key, this is the only one we have. So if this goes missing,
In trouble.
in dead trouble, yes.
It's a beautiful brass key.
It is. Beautifully made.
What's the number?
Number 2.
2.
Number 2.
Number 1's gone missing.
Absolutely. It's good to have a backup. Unfortunately, there isn't any at the moment.
It's like my wife and her car keys.
There we are. So it'd be good to see next to the actual hat, which is obviously the size you need. And when I run that over the hat, you can
So
see.
you can see it doesn't fit. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Flush.
the circumference, right, which is the same, right? But this is the distribution of that.
Precisely. So all the gaps you see, when the actual conforming takes place using heat, that will be redistributed.
Yeah. And what type of top hat are you fitting for here? Is this?
So that's.
Is this going to be your silk top hat?
Is that it? Is that the
This is the silk, and that's the high crown we looked at
There you go. Yeah.
before.
This is today's.
Because I'm tall. Wearing a short top hat wouldn't work particularly well for me. And so I wear.
Correct. I mean, spot on. When a client comes in, we tend to advise a client. It's preferential as well. The reason why you chose a high crown is because the height and the frame. So it balances perfectly. So when anyone sees the wearer wearing the top hat, you see them collectively rather than one or the other first.
So taller gentlemen for taller hats, shorter
Absolutely.
for shorter hats.
Sort of like a regular proportion hat otherwise.
Same in
So
ours.
what's the height of this crown?
It's 6 inches plus, so it's almost 6.5 inches.
It's kind of the opposite of bearskins.
Yeah.
Bearskins, the taller guards wear shorter bearskins, so everyone's
Make up the
got
height.
same height.
And I can imagine that those guys need it fitted because, those hats must be heavy and in hot temperatures or standing on guard for 4, 5 or 6 hours, you're going to need it. Yeah.
Last thing you want to do is be uncomfortable wearing a hat.
This rabbit,
Rabbit fur felt.
Yeah, it's rabbit
So all
fur
the
felt.
modern ones are composed of rabbit fur
which
felt.
actually when brushed comes out really nicely, because obviously the sort of that kind of underlying narrative of like it's not a silk one. Well, yes, obviously, but they're just too hard to find and afford these things. So I think that people who sort of feel like they may be settling for actually when you do your brushing,
Yes.
it comes up really beautifully and actually you walk out feeling rather proud of it.
Do you polish it at all with anything?
We
to help
do. So
increase the shine?
both the silk and rabbit fur felt top hat does get polished after we master the fitting. And basically, if I just do this, and it will also enhance the sheen, it's already there. It's not hardly been touched. And the same thing, the way there's a nap to it. So if I go clockwise, it'll start to ruffle up. So from the center, top of the crown, anti-clockwise brushing. I'm just going to literally use my palm to settle the flush, and you'll see it'll start to shine. So it's perfectly, in its own right, it's a perfectly shiny top hat until you get the actual top hat next to a silk. That's when the conversation begins.
So really, you need to tell these gentlemen a little polish while they're making their way to
That's
Ascot
good,
is to learn that, really, isn't it? Because that's all
Nice
part
sweaty palm.
of it. Yeah.
Just does the job. It saves you going all the way to the top and getting some water.
Yeah.
Well,
Great.
congratulations, Tom. Thanks for letting us, kind of
Jump in on you there.
jump
No,
in.
really, it was such a lovely
Surprise.
Such a lovely surprise to see you,
Yeah.
and as always, and I'm, I can never spend too much time with you.
Well, you're very kind.
So delightful.
Well, we're going to see each other tomorrow, not just for another installment of our Gentleman's Day Out, little walking tour, but I think we also have dinner planned. So
We have a long day tomorrow.
looking forward to it. Tom, thank you so much.
Obviously, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Tom,
cheers.
always a pleasure. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice meeting you.
Always good. Thank you much, Phil. Great, knowledge you have here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Special.
It's absolute
I mean,
pleasure.
every single place that we've been stopping, it's one of the things that strikes me the most is, again, just the accumulated knowledge over time and just the tradition. I mean, these institutions in and of themselves, you really only find something like this in London. And of course, as everyone on the channel knows, it's one of the things I love most and what keeps bringing me back.
Craft
It's
and
always
passion.
something to learn.
Craft and passion. That's what
Quality
it's all
craftsmanship and
about.
I
tradition.
think keyword is passion.
Yeah.
That's what keeps the hatting
Yeah.
clock ticking away.
Yep.
Great.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure.
Take care.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye. Oh. Get back to conforming. Oh, goodness for that.
So we're going to come into Lobb.
Oh, of course. Yes,
the shoes,
one of
yeah.
my favorite places on the entire street.
Isn't it just? I mean, this is to me is the sound. You come in, you hear the last
smell.
being made, the the smell, and everything is very special.
The samples. This is, as I often say, it's the, kind of the anchor of bespoke shoes. It's done so much to preserve
Hello.
the tradition.
Hello,
William.
welcome back.
There we
Kirby,
go.
hi.
William, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
William, good to see you again.
Good to see you again, Simon.
Doesn't seem so long when we were in the USA just the other week on our
Had a nice
shows.
couple of meals.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time.
Yeah.
How many of your cities overlap? Is it kind of?
So we were just out in California and Georgia. So we did actually California. We were in San Francisco together. We were in actually Atlanta together. So it's just purely coincidence, but we often overlap and obviously mutual customers.
Yeah,
so
of course.
it's quite nice to catch up with us. But what we tend to do is we have the same hotel, so it's very easy for the customers to move to floor and see us. Just the timings really.
Yeah.
But it's you treat the customer and they know that who they see William, how their shoes are, they see how the suits are, and that's that sort of continuity that they love to have. So I say it's pure luck really, but it was good times.
It worked quite well.
Two great heritage firms. I mean, founded around the same time, right?
Yeah. Obviously with family firms, just like we experience now with many other houses here on St James. My grandfather was obviously with William's grandfather, my father with your father, and now obviously we know each other, and that's how the relationship is. And we've always worked together on suits and shoes, and that's how we've worked in our family firms. So we see it through the customer basis as well.
Well, it's a very small and exclusive fraternity of these British heritage companies that are still owned and run properly by family members. And again, it's that authenticity that I think allows really the preservation of these traditions and the craft, because there's a custodianship over the legacy versus someone that's just trying to, do,
it means a lot.
Make numbers.
You can imagine, it means a lot for a generation to survive, to make it better for the next generation. That's what we try and do. And every generation sees more fortuitous times or more difficult times, and we have to get through them. But it's obviously how we go through it, employing the next generation of trained craftsmanship, and that's what we do, and William does, and you can hear the actual glass being made as we speak now, which is lovely. Same with cutting cloth.
Yeah, it reminds me of the sound in Poole of of the cutting shears on the wooden boards.
Yeah, exactly.
There's just a beauty to that, right?
Yeah.
I think also it's like that thing of passing a trade from one generation to the next. That's always been really important, not just for our family, but for like it always used to be when the shoemakers would teach their children and their grandchildren, whatever, and it was like so it means a lot.
It means a lot. It means a lot for a family. For me.
Well, and Lobbs and Poole, of course, and have really taken leading roles in taking on apprentices in order to ensure that there is that transition or transmission of knowledge from one generation to the next.
Well, this is the thing that we've had to do, So because less and less people are passing it down from one son from their fathers. So it has to be. We've had to. For more recent times, we've had to take on apprentices, because before you would have had plenty of tailors, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But now you really have to train them yourself, and that's been for
Well, you have to go out of your way, and you've got to be deliberate, and it does come at an expense, right? Bringing on an apprentice. But without those apprentices in the pipeline, at some point, the entire trade kind of collapses on itself.
And that's the point. There's countless firms in Savile Row that, are a one cutter company, and it's a generation thing. And now it's a great cutter, but that's it.
That's it.
You end up merging with a company. You end up taking over the book, but they didn't have the forethought to think for the next generation. And like you say, Kirby, it is an expense. For the first 1 or 2 year, you're paying for the catch-up for that apprentice to get somewhere before you see the reward of them learning. So, it's like both of us here. We go through this, and some years it's very easy, some years it's very, very tough, but we have to do this from generation after generation. So
it's actually quite a good process, isn't it? Teaching people, it's you kind of learn from it yourself, don't you? It's quite a. It's
very patient.
You learn a lot of patience. That's for sure.
Yes. Well, luckily you guys are in patient trades. Well, you were saying earlier that you're wearing a pair of Lobbs, and
so I just
talk to us about these.
I wanted to come in. Obviously, I always catch up with William and Jonathan, and all the family. But for me, bringing you here, Kirby, is just to show you the tier level you're playing with the Lobb, because you are really getting to the point where, as I can explain with some shoemakers, you're actually going to something which is it's actually made in the draft, and the drawing is there, and you're just taking the colours and putting in the colours into already a picture. But with Lobb, you are a blank canvas. You are going to a place where you're going to create something for you from nothing. And that's how it started for me. I mean, obviously, we knew each other, and I had a customer in San Francisco. He was a lovely gentleman. He had a tremendous amount of shoes. And his signature style was what was called the Rodney design.
Okay.
And basically, I think, is it here, William, somewhere? One in here.
Yeah. Okay.
There it is, yeah. So this indeed was the Rodney design. So when I came back to London, and William was kind enough to say, let's do a little trade. So I came in and said, this is what I was after. This is what I saw, which was this design. But now, from this design, you can have it how you want to have it. So you can have a monk strap, a double monk strap, you can have a lace, you can have a garter, you can do what you want. And then you choose obviously your leather, your finish, your welt, your heel, and you really have something which you can make a signature house. So, I mean, is my last around, William? Is that?
Yeah, we got it here for you.
So,
That's beautiful. Look at this.
So here we go.
beautiful, huh? So that's my feet. Do they look lovely? I look like a platypus feet here when I see this, but this is me, which has been made, and now that sits here, just like we have a pattern for William and Jonathan.
Look at the bottoms so we can see how well used they've been. Yep, quite well utilized.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But then I took some of my designs, and just to show you that, I have one here, for example.
Okay.
This one here would be, again, the Rodney front here with a single monk. So it's this design again, with a single monk strap. And again, for me at Henry Poole, we have the lovely dark green, as our customers know, and you know that dark green's our signature house. Yeah. So this is very much my style of shoe, which I wear throughout the Lobb generated shoes, but it all started from taking a little bit of these shoes, however you wanted to create something special.
Yeah. And so how many pairs of the Rodneys do you have then?
Oh, I'm up to about 5
Are
now.
you?
I would like to say, but there is a few.
Yeah.
But they are comfortable. They are, for example, I have the one with the garter is perfect for
so like
going to the
lazy
airports.
man.
You're wearing that.
Okay.
You're going to the States, and how many times will you have to go through security?
Yeah,
we're
that's
doing
really handy.
6 or 7 cities in 2 weeks, and you're all the time having to take your shoes off.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Have the garters. Do it this way. Keep a Rodney. And next time you might want to have another design. You could have
Different color.
Elastic or instep, perhaps.
yeah, or slip on like this with a
Slip-on
Rodney.
shoe.
Yeah, something
I
like
love
that.
the idea of having kind of a signature style and then having it made as many ways possible. So different colors, different materials, even seeing this in different designs or models all together. So it's the same kind of consistent detail, that thread that kind of connects all those shoes together. But, this is a monk strap. That's a lazy man. You can have it in a lace up. You can have it in different colors.
That's right.
And I think that's part of the bespoke process that I really enjoy, is that you can personalize it, you can make it your own. I mean, not only do you have a fantastic product that fits perfectly and is exceptionally comfortable, but you can really kind of manifest, your own personal tastes and preferences into the product itself.
Exactly. And then it goes on for, that now alone is probably around 5 years, 6 years, 7 years old, this one now. And, it still feels as new, feels comfortable, and it's well maintained.
Yeah.
So this is why the
Back
purchase,
in here for a little bit of a polish.
a little bit of a polish, a little bit of a tweak, but that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, this is a beautiful sample. When do you think this was made?
It's lovely, isn't it?
I mean, I love the cabinets of the historic samples.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a museum.
So probably, 30 years ago.
I wish my foot was that beautiful.
It is.
Nice, narrow.
You've got a lovely
nice and narrow,
a little rounder toe, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. Something
Unlike
slightly
my
more
good
British.
self.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for, having us. It's always, I think holding your last. I mean, how cool is that? It's like, seeing your pattern, at your tailor shop, really does make one feel a part of history.
Yeah.
Because these lasts, whenever we called up and said we were coming by, they just popped downstairs and pulled them from the last room.
Yeah. No, it's quite something.
Sitting, I think, downstairs right next to, the Prince of Wales or,
Many others.
Many others, right?
Yeah. No, it's very special. It's like a signature, a little stamp of your history, your life is in a shop. And that's the same with Poole, with patterns. It's the same with the last here in Lobb. And, it's just lovely to have.
Yeah.
And these generations, father, son, as
That's true, yeah.
daughter. It's always nice to see as well when you see that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I guess your father's last year somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Of course.
We'll see about Henry and Jamie. There are a few years to come yet.
Yes.
So, yeah,
We got to get them into the business proper before.
Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. William, I thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simon. Yeah,
Always.
good to see you.
Yeah,
again.
really
Yeah.
good. Yep.
Yeah.
See you on travel. See you back in London, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah.
Other events. Yeah.
Yep. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, good to see you,
Thank
Kirby.
bud.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers.
I'm going to give you the last as well. Pop them back.
We will look after them.
Yeah, are you taking these with you?
I'm gonna leave them here for a little polish, and then we'll plate them up. That's great.
All right.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, William.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
Yep.
Okay. Cheerio now.
Bye. Bye.
How you doing? After you.
So we're now heading back in from really St James into a little bit of Mayfair now. So we're going to go through the arcade here. This really is quite a special arcade. Really is, again, a special area of shopping that takes place in the Mayfair. Right, come on through. As you can see, there's a parade of shops here.
Yep.
So coming from, obviously, St James, more traditional shirts, shoes, cigars, we're now coming into what's called the Burlington Arcade, which really is the thoroughfare into what we say Savile Row, the clothes of the man. And that's very much, coming through here, you'll see much more the smaller boutique places.
The boutiques.
So Globetrotter, watchmakers, jewellery houses, these are very much what it's all about here.
Yeah.
So it's very special, it's very special. And livery, of course.
Hi.
Well, we make livery. This is Martin.
Martin,
Hi, Martin.
Kirby
Yeah.
Allison. Yeah,
Nice to see you.
Good to see you,
Good to
Martin.
see
You
you
well?
too. I'm very well, thank you.
Good, good.
Well, one of the defining characteristics of course, the Burlington Arcade is always these finely dressed gentlemen in traditional livery.
That's right.
Well, these, the Beadles, they really were the law enforcement before the police were around. The landlords would have had gentlemen employed to look after and enforce the laws and make sure that gentlemen and ladies obeyed the rules.
That's right. So we are Beadles. We are the first private police force in the world. We predate the London Metropolitan Police by 10 years.
Okay.
Now, what we essentially do here is that we're here to make sure certain behavioral rules are enforced.
Yeah.
So once you come here, there are things you can't do, and there are a series of them.
Yeah.
One is no running,
Okay.
no whistling, no humming.
No humming.
No humming, no singing, no open umbrellas.
Yeah.
Most importantly, when you're here, you should be well behaved.
Yeah.
Now, we're here to make sure those rules are obeyed.
Yes.
If you do any of them, then we have the right to get you out of the arcade.
And so, how long have the Beadles been doing this?
Since 1819, since the inception of the Burlington Arcade.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And who was the family that first owned the Burlington
Yes, Lord Cavendish.
Okay.
Who used to live next door in the Burlington house.
Ah, okay.
And then, yes.
Is it still in the family? The arcade?
The building itself has been sold, so it's
yeah.
now owned by the Royal Academy of Arts.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
yes,
Which
yes.
is still next
It's
door.
next door. Yes, it's still next door. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But no, this is a great uniform. It really actually goes back to historical colours of the family. And also, it's a great way to give a bit of authority, but in a nice way of a dress uniform.
Yeah, yes,
So
yes.
a lot of photographs come from
That's
this,
right.
right?
We get a lot of people all over the world taking photographs.
So
with
anyone
us.
that's visiting can ask for a photograph.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
no problem at all.
Yeah.
We are here. There are 8 of us here. Once we're in the uniform, any member of the public that walk past and ask for photograph, we are gladly welcome them to take photograph with them.
And maybe even Beyonce or Adele might even go past and sing. And I
And
think
they
that would be okay, wouldn't it?
Well, when they sing, we'll probably tell them not to sing.
Yes.
There's only one person who is allowed to sing, which is Paul McCartney. He's the only person being given that concession to sing.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Officially?
Yes. Officially.
Okay. Well, if Paul's ever walking
That's
through.
right. That's right.
Then I'll remember to
Well,
ask
listen
him to
out for it.
serenade.
Right.
And so this isn't costume. I mean, this is authentically made the same way today by the firm
Keith.
that has been making it since the beginning.
That's right.
So in our livery department, you remember Keith? You
Yes,
met
Keith,
him.
Yes.
We make for the royal household. We still do the postilions, the ascots, all the famous coats there for the royal household, footman coats.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And we make for many other houses. We also make for country clubs. We make for uniforms that are known blazers around the world. And that's part of our heritage of Poole since we founded in 1806.
Well, what does it feel like to be dressed in a Henry Poole livery suit every day?
Well, Henry Poole, as you are aware, they live in one of the most high-end tailoring shop in Mayfair.
Yeah.
So wearing them, people sometimes come to ask us, how do you feel? We feel pride
Yeah.
in them.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, you're not going to find any of these uniform anywhere in the world except
Yeah.
the UK. So we are proud wearing them.
Yeah.
Honestly, we are really, really proud wearing them. And thanks goes to
Well,
him and his team, particularly Keith and the team. They designed this beautiful
Yeah.
uniform for us. So we're really proud of Henry Poole.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
really
just
proud.
Just to say, Martin, we're proud too, really.
Just another example how there's quality, craftsmanship, and tradition
That's right.
really at every turn here in London. Yeah.
Well, we're heading now into Savile Row, the last leg of
That's right.
my walk to work in the morning.
Yeah, there you go. It's a tough,
It's great.
tough walk.
It's a pleasure to
Yeah,
talk
Martin,
to you.
pleasure
all.
was mine.
It's a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
It's a pleasure. God bless you all.
Take care.
God
Cheers.
bless. Bye.
Amazing.
That's pretty good, huh? So now you've seen a little bit of the history of the arcade itself and how it functioned, and formality as it is, and etiquette that still in tradition
Yeah.
still survives. So this is coming out now into really now the West End. We've got now Regent Street, you've got Bond Street, you've got the streets between Burlington Street, Savile Row, of course. And of course things like the Academy here with the Royal Academy is just got a sweet spot when it comes down to sort of new arts, and Cork Street with its modern art.
Yeah.
So all this sort of region, again, brings in a generation of customers into the West End.
Yeah, I mean, we're going from St. James's to Mayfair.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this is really now the clothing side, you know, not so much shoes, not so much shirts. It's more just about Savile Row and the garments, you know.
Yeah.
So we can carry on. So going this way takes you out onto Regent Street. So that's a real thoroughfare of retail.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knows Regent
That's
Street,
High
Oxford
Street, it's
High
very
Street,
popular,
High
yeah.
Street. But behind one block over was Savile Row, and this really
It's
was
the hidden secret.
the hidden
Not
secret.
so hidden anymore, but
the little gem.
yes.
You know, of tailoring and houses. But this really was sort of game changer with Poole moved in 1846. Before
So what
then,
was here in 1846? I mean, you were the first tailor, so what would have been on the street?
we were talking like 2 or 3 story high max. A lot of first floor, second floor surgeons, believe it or not. Surgeons,
Really?
doctors. This is what the street was about.
So where the surgeon's cuff comes from?
Well, yeah, a little bit that side of Napoleon side, but about
Okay.
the same time, really. You know, that was the story of the surgeon's cuff. But it was Poole that moved into the building on the left-hand side here that started the business. And
Okay.
he made it into a real stamp of tailoring. And there was other tailors, Myra
Yeah.
Mortimer. There's other tailors that existed in Hanover Square. But the power of Poole, with all 300 tailors working for it, with livery, military and civil, the rest of them started to move into this area.
Yeah.
Part of it was to survive together.
Yeah.
You can imagine we're talking about
Yeah.
apprenticeships, but everyone was learning from each other and working with each other. Still today we do this. But on that thoroughfare, it still stands today that you have all these wonderful houses in a row.
It's amazing. I mean, it's great. Again, going back to what we saw on St. James's Street, German Street, the Piccadilly Arcade, it's just how long these firms have kind of survived where they are. Makes it so unique, so authentic, and really so special.
Yeah, yeah. Well, long may it rain. That's what I
Yes.
say. And even after
Another
my
100
generation.
years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, obviously, speaking of Regal, this year, as you know, Kirby, is going to be a big year. Platinum
Incredible.
Jubilee. Yeah, so incredible. We are so excited. So obviously, the bunting's out. This is part of the celebrations for the Platinum 70th anniversary.
Yes, well,
So we're all excited
it's a
about that.
huge milestone.
Oh, it's a big milestone. So we're all putting our
Probably
window.
unmatched, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So for our celebrations, we've done a lovely garter robe. It's about the third highest acclaim you can have, either the George Cross or the Victoria Cross. But the garter robe is very special, and we tie that in with obviously the lovely Union Jack and the Queen's Jubilee flags, and either side a lovely bit of summery linens to go in the window.
It's a beautiful window display. And this would be a garment that Henry Poole would be making as well.
We made this in period costumes, so this was a customer. We made it for them at that time. We looked after for them. We have a lot of cases downstairs that are period costumes we look after.
Okay.
This gentleman passed away, but we still keep it here as part of our historic collection.
When was it made?
This was about, I'd have to check with Keith on that, but you know, it certainly goes back about 60, 70 years.
Yeah. I mean,
But we have a number of pieces we keep as a
absolutely
archive.
impressive garment.
It is very impressive. But let's come on through.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to Poole. There we go, Kirby, come on in.
Well, back at Poole, it's so civilized inside these doors.
Good to be back. Good to be here. Say it's a little insight to my little walk sometimes into Henry Poole, and obviously stopping off for some people I know well enough, and so showing you the RAC Club. Which,
Well, thank you for the invitation to the RAC, of course, and then kind of providing a little bit of a glimpse through your window into your life. And I have to say, I've walked these streets countless times, but to hear your stories and just your viewpoint on the history has really illuminated just the richness even more so.
I think you met some really good people
Yeah.
today. I mean, they're family friends, they're family we've known for generations. And you can see there's a sort of passion in their business, just as it is here in Poole. But, you know, whether it be in hat making or, you know, lob lasts and shoemaking, you can see it all in there. And, you know, this is what generates this whole little area in London.
Yeah, it's amazing how much there is just kind of linking everyone together. And it's that rich kind of fabric of London, of quality, of craftsmanship and tradition that again makes this one of the greatest places on earth. So Simon, thank you so much.
Kirby,
The
always a
pleasure has
pleasure.
been mine. It's
Always.
always so great to see you.
No.
And of course, so nice to be back in London.
We'll see you again soon.